Hi everybody, and welcome to my introduction video to the Polaroid SX-70 land camera. I actually have two of these. I have this one in the box, and then I have this Sonar One Touch, and we'll get to both of these in the course of this video. Right now I'm going to unbox this Model 2. The box is a little bit beat up, but I'm guessing that it served for many years as the camera's case. It's interesting, I have the original sales receipt with this camera. I just got this camera this weekend, and the original sales receipt, I'm only the second owner. The camera was purchased for $115.75 on May 1st, 1976. I should close that. It has the lady's credit card information. I'm fairly certain that credit card's not valid anymore. So let me put this styrofoam away and get it out of the way here. And here is the camera that I just took out of there. Very 70s retro-esque looking camera. It's sort of like an IKEA type of pretty, and I don't know, they're just, I can't get over them. They're very, very interesting looking cameras. What we're looking at here is a single lens reflex instant film camera. It doesn't take roll film, it takes pack film. And the difference being that the pack film has all of the developing chemicals built into it, so after it's exposed, it develops the image in the film. And I believe that the way it does that is there are a series of rollers at the front, and I think that they crush the film a little bit, and that indicates when it's supposed to be developed, or it could just be that the exposure light triggers it. I'm honestly not 100% certain. It has an averaging meter, which is next to the lens. So let's open this up here real quickly and I'll show you it. Lift up the top and the sides. You can see the bellows in there. It has an averaging meter right here. This is the meter, and you can tell it to go lighter or darker as needed. And that's next to the camera's lens. There we go. That's a nice attractive presentation. The shutter goes from 14 seconds to 1/175th. That's the fastest. Now the SX-70 used film which was ISO 170, I think, and so it's a fairly slow film. It's the only ISO that it could use because of the way the metering system was created. I don't know what the magnification through the viewfinder is. I couldn't find it anywhere. Looking at it, it looks like it's probably about 0.9, maybe a little bit less. I also couldn't find the viewfinder frame coverage, but I think it's fairly close to 100%. The viewfinder came with either a plain or a split ring, and I actually don't know which kind this one has. This has the split ring in it, which means it's a slightly later model. The plain viewfinders were earlier. The split rings were added when people complained that the plain viewfinders made it difficult to focus the camera. This is an autofocus. My other one here, whoa, my other one, the Sonar One Step, is a autofocus camera. This is manual focus. I misspoke just then. So, at any rate, there is a lens. There is a flash attachment available. There were flash bars that plugged into the top on that flash bar port there, you can see, but I don't think they're made anymore, though I could be wrong on that. There was a way to plug an electronic flash into the side of these in that little black port, but not every electronic flash worked, and to just take a modern off-the-shelf electronic flash, you have to modify the camera. The lens is a 116mm f8 to f22. It's a very slow lens. The target market for the Polaroid SX-70 was the high-end consumer. The original models, older than this one, had chrome bodies with real leather. This has real leather on it. My One Touch has a plastic leatherette. Chrome bodies with real leather, And this one, like the chrome body, uses a fiberglass reinforced plastic. It was produced by Polaroid from 1972 to 1981, so this was bought 4 years after the production run began. It was preceded by other land cameras such as the Model 80 and Model 20, as well as numerous others. And it was concurrent with some other models of land camera. And Polaroid did a lot for large format, selling 4x5 film that could be developed on the spot so that professional photographers could check their exposure and settings and things like that. This was followed by the Model 600, was the direct successor to the SX-70. So we're going to go through the camera real quickly and take a look at the two different ones and see kind of how these things are laid out. I said earlier, these are kind of IKEA simple cameras, and they really are. They're very basic. So on the top of the camera, what we have is the viewfinder. I guess you got the flash bar, kind of. Well, let's close this and see how that looks. So on the top of the camera, we have the viewfinder. On the back, we've got the frame counter. Right now on the front, we have the flash bar port. And that's really it. Once we open this camera, just a little bit tricky sometimes. There we go. Now on the front of the camera, we've got the lens. And this is how you focus the lens with that wheel right there. We've got the, here it is, we've got the exposure meter with light and dark compensation. This is the shutter trigger right here. And then this is where the prints eject from. On the side we have, well, that's the electronic flash. Oops, the electronic flash plug, and then you've got the flash bar there. And then on the side here, this is where the button we push to open the film front. This is my reflectors are not staying up like they're supposed to. So now that we've got the camera's front open, this is where the film packs get loaded. You just drop the film packs right in. I don't have any right now. Normally I load film in the second video, but I don't have any film packs, unfortunately. Then we have this, this is the collapse bar right here, and then there's a rubber bellows accordion next to it. So I'm going to show you a little bit about how this works right now. A little bit going off the outline. That's always risky. Sometimes that goes well and sometimes it doesn't. Let's hope this one goes well. So the way that these work is that the light comes in here. There's a mirror on this plane and a mirror on this plane, and it's over the film, which is stored right here. And then there's a very small astigmatic correction lens here, and then a plastic and curved mirror up here. So what happens is the light comes in the lens, hits this mirror, bounces down to this mirror, bounces back up to this mirror, goes through the astigmatic correction lens, bounces off the mirror in there, and out to the eyepiece. So it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-step light movement using 3 mirrors. It's really very, very clever, and what happens when you hit the shutter release is this mirror flips up. Well, first what happens is the shutter closes because you're viewing the shutter. So the shutter closes. This lens flips up, this mirror rather flips up. The shutter opens, lets the light in. There's a mirror on the underside now that directs the light downward to the film. The shutter closes, the mirror flips down, and the shutter reopens, and then you can see what's going on through the viewfinder again. It's a very complex system, but it also works very well, and it's very ingeniously designed. So, some notes on this. The early SX-70s had clear focusing screens, like we said, and the later had the split prisms. I don't know what year that started, when they changed it. Clearly before 1976. The autofocus SX-70s returned to the plain focusing screen. I've got to get a better way of holding these reflectors up. Here's that autofocus SX-70, and you can tell it's an autofocus because it has this strange gold disc on the front of it, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. And looking through it, I can confirm that yes, it does in fact have the plain viewing screen. They use a three mirror arrangement instead of prisms. The mirrors are shaped oddly and placed at odd angles. The bodies, this body is made of ABS plastic for the black camera. It's a later SX-70 when they switched to ABS. This earlier SX-70 uses a fiberglass-filled polysulfone plastic body with a nickel copper chromium alloy plating for the silver ones. This does not have that plating because it's ivory colored. But this type of plastic that's used, because it's fiberglass reinforced, is extremely strong and very durable, resists a lot of environmental factors like UV light and things like that fairly well, so they last a very long time. And as you can see, even this thing being 76, that's a year older than me, it's 36 years old at the time of this being filmed, it's still ivory colored, which is the color it's supposed to be. It hasn't had a lot of yellowing because it uses a high-end plastic. The ABS plastic cameras were black, so that's how you can tell that at a glance. Most of the mechanical parts in these cameras, regardless of whether they were the later ABS plastic or the earlier polysulfone cameras, were made of molded, precision molded plastic components, which helped keep them lightweight. A few pieces that had to be metal, such as that arm, were metal, but not all of them. This was also the first ever instant SLR. Prior to the SX-70, Polaroid cameras used a print technology which was messy, and you had to follow steps that were very precise in a certain order. Otherwise, the print was going to get on your hands and you would have developing chemicals on your hands all day. And that's disgusting. I don't even like doing that, and I enjoy this photography stuff. So there's an interesting anecdote where at the 1972 investors meeting, the president of Polaroid pulled an SX-70 out of his pocket and proceeded to take 10 photos of the crowd in 10 seconds and set them out to develop, and they had developed in 5 minutes. And it was the first time that it had ever been done in public, and it was groundbreaking to have that happen. And it was a paradigm shift in instant photography. And in fact, a lot of the photography that people do today owes some of its heritage to these old Polaroid cameras. You know, the prints from these look a lot like popular photo service prints, or images, I should say. And they were the first time that anyone could pick up a camera and take a print and have it appear instantaneously. And that's something we all just take for granted today. But back when this stuff came out, it was revolutionary. So back to the camera and off of some of the history lesson, there were some add-ons available for this camera. There was an add-on lens, 2 add-on lenses actually, that fit onto that lens. One was a macro lens that allowed 1-to-1 focusing at 5 inches, and the other was a 1.5x telephoto, which converted that lens into a 174 millimeter lens, and that fit on as well. And then you had the flash bar, and you could get an electronic flash that fit onto the side of it as well. And I think there were a couple of, there was a leather case, which I used to own a third one of these, but I had to sell it, and it came with a leather case. And the leather case fit on it, and it was articulated so that when you opened this, the leather case opened as well, and it protected the camera, and it was very well designed. You know, when I grew up, I didn't think very much of Polaroids because the 600s were out. But this model camera's really changed my opinion on that. They're fantastic, fantastic pieces of engineering. So anyway, some things about this camera not to do. Don't touch the lens, because you can damage the coating and that can really affect the image quality. Don't touch the mirrors, although if you're able to touch the mirrors, then you've taken the camera apart, which you probably shouldn't do unless you really know what you're doing anyway. Don't leave your camera or lenses, well, in this case, or film in your car. The heat damage will ruin them, or the cold damage. Don't store your camera in a plastic bag, because you can get fungus fairly easily, especially with real leather, which is organic. And don't let your camera get wet. Don't take it out in the rain. Don't go cliff jumping with it. And just remember that your camera, even these Polaroids are very precise equipment. And as long as we treat them with respect and care for them, they will last for us. They're very well made cameras.